Hi, Matt with eTrailer. If you have a 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer L and you're looking for a set of chains just to give you a little bit more traction as opposed to nothing at all, or you just want to stay legal in your state, then the Titan tire chains with the roller links are going to be a great option for you. So let's check them out. Now we are going to have these chains on our rear axle as what the manual recommends, and we're going to have them on tire size 275, 55, or 20. Now that's just the size we have today. They will fit a variety of other sizes. Now if you're not sure if this is going to fit your vehicle, you can actually plug in your vehicle's information into our fit guide to find the right ones for you. Another thing to think about is we have this currently lowered all the way down, our vehicle that is. You can actually raise yours and it will still work, but I just wanted to really showcase that this will still work even in these more cramped situations. But let's take a closer look at some of the specs of these chains. So looking at the links themselves, this is going to be more of a roller style. So rollers are great because they don't really create a lot of bump, or they're going to provide you more of a smooth ride overall. Something else that's going to help with that smooth ride is going to be their construction. This is made from a low carbon steel. So that's a softer metal, so you typically don't feel as much. Now it might not last as some more of the more rugged type chains, but they're just more so for those emergency scenarios. And they're going to be Class S chains on top of that too, so they're going to sit really close to your tire. So since we don't have too much space behind our tire because that suspension is pretty close, this is going to make sure we don't make contact with anything. Now to make sure you don't make contact with anything, you want to keep things nice and tight. So if we look at the very bottom, you're going to notice we have this lever. This lever actually takes out a bunch of the slack from our chains to keep everything nice and tight. But if you want a little bit more help keeping your chains nice and tight, then I recommend investing in a rubber tensioner. Really with any type of chain like this, I recommend a tensioner because what typically happens on the road is when you're driving, your chains shift. And once they shift, they usually loosen up, and if they loosen up, they could damage something on your vehicle. Now this isn't going to come with your kit. You can actually find this on our website. But what will come with your kit is going to be this bag. So you'll have two sets of chains, so they'll be able to store inside of here. Now they are a little bit difficult to get in and out, especially when they have a lot of snow and ice on them or rocks on top of that. So what I'd recommend doing is investing in a small tote to keep your chains in. In my opinion, I think these are a good set of chains if you plan on mainly just keeping them in your vehicle for those more emergency situations, or you just want to stay legal in your state. Now, if you plan on using them a little bit more often, these can be a little bit difficult because you have to get underneath your vehicle if you wanted to install them. And if you're out on the side of the road with a lot of snow and ice, that's not going to be very fun. So if you want something that's going to be a little bit easier to install and give you more traction when you need it, it's also going to have a built-in rubber tensioner, so it's going to give you a little bit more peace of mind when you're driving, then I'd actually recommend the Titan chains, assisted tensioning tire chains, because that rubber tensioner is just going to reach across, give you that extra security when you're driving, and on top of that, all the connection is made from the front of your vehicle. But that's going to be something that's more designed if you're more driving in those snowy conditions, and you do find that you are using chains more often. But if you're not using chains often, then I'd probably go with these. Now, if you are curious to see what that installation looks like, just stay tuned. We'll walk you through the process. Now to begin the installation, I like to lay out my chains and check it for a few things. I just want to make sure there's no damages to the links and it's in the right orientation. So what I mean is, if we look at the links themselves, we want to make sure there's no nicks or any damage to the weld itself. And right next to here, we're going to have these hooks. We want these to be facing up, so they're away from the tire so they don't make any contact with it. And we also want to make sure that this lever is on the outside so it's a little bit easier to grab. Once we've established that, we can start putting it on our tires. And I'm just going to pretty much drape it over the top. Another thing to keep in mind is maybe grab some gloves to help you out with this process, because these can be a little bit sharp sometimes. The burrs can get your hands, especially when you're moving around like this. And when this is kind of roughly in place, we can start making our connections. The first connection I like to make is on the back side because that's a little bit more tricky. Again, I do have this all the way lowered down, our vehicle that is. If you need a little bit of help, you can raise it up, but if you can't for whatever reason, it still is possible like this. So I'm just going to grab these metal blocks and I'm going to push them through this channel, just like that. Now this might take you a few attempts because it can be a little bit tricky to reach underneath here. And you want to make sure it's not too tight or too loose. The reason being is it won't give you an even fit on either side, which won't make it safe to drive. So once you get this side done, you can move over to the front side. And the front side is going to be very similar. We're going to be grabbing those metal blocks and pushing it through this channel. When you're doing this too, you want to make sure this feels pretty tight, about as tight as it's going to get. And to help us get a lot of the slack out, I'm just going to push down that bar, attach it over here. Now I don't have enough length to really catch on this little tab here, so I'm just going to leave it be. And then I'm going to come back over here and give it a good pull test, and this feels pretty good. But I want a little more peace of mind, so I am going to grab that rubber tensioner. The way I like to put this on is going to be in a star pattern. And it's important when you place the hooks on that they're facing away from your tires just so they don't puncture anything. Once you have this down and in place, then you can kind of give it another pull test, make sure it feels good. And if it does, then you can repeat it on the other side. Afterwards, I just recommend doing a little drive test, so pull forward or back up some to make sure nothing's going to shift too much. And if it's not, then you can take it out for a drive. But that was just a look at some of the features and the installation of the Titan Chain Roller Link tire chains on our 2024 Jeep Grand Wagoneer L. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.